This is CHSR 97.9 FM here in Fredericton, New Brunswick, Canada. This is Python's Paradise, your film and music show, and this is your host, Greg Gilbert, aka the Python Hyena. And folks, I have an interesting guest on the phone, somebody who's done a lot of horror-related films, especially in the independents. I have... You know what? You better introduce yourself. I'm not sure how to pronounce your name.
Oh, poor me. Genoveva Rossi. Yeah, it's an Italian name,
Oh,
so
okay.
I always say it's best to say it with an Italian accent.
Okay, Genoveva Rossi. Okay, I didn't want to sound disrespectful and mispronounce it. I've done that before, and I always feel guilty about it.
It's tough. I think we all run into that issue. Pronunciation rules vary so much from ethnicity to ethnicity. So I don't think we can fault anyone for mispronouncing a name, right?
Well, you say it's an Italian name. Are you from Italy?
My father was from Italy, and we have some rather traditional Italian names in my family. Giuseppe, Gustavo, Genoveva, Genevieve. Lots of names. Vincenzo, Giuseppe. What else? A whole bunch of Pietro. So we kind of adopted these Italian names, of course, even though we're here in America, obviously. The last name Rossi is Italian too. It means red in Italian. So when somebody says vino rosso, they mean red wine.
Well, I've done an interview or two from Italy. I think Italy. I think of speaking of horror films. I really am a big fan of the work of Dario Argento. Are you a fan of his work?
Oh, there you go. And that's another way we can use my last name, Profondo Rosso.
Yeah.
Deep red.
Deep Red. Great movie. Great movie.
Absolutely. I love Dario Argento. And then actually, I just want to say to everybody, just so you know, I was in Rome in August, and I had the privilege of meeting Sergio Stivoletti, who is the special effects wizard that Dario Argento used for much of his films, including Creepers with Jennifer Connelly. He was the first person in Italy to introduce animatronics into the horror genre. He was a real innovator, and we actually hung out twice while I was in Rome in August. Had lunch, went out for cappuccino and espresso, had a wonderful time. Fantastic guy, and it was a real honor. I reached out to him because I know I was going to Rome for business and a vacation, and I figured why not meet somebody that I grew up admiring their work. And he was a great guy, and we've been in touch since. So I'm a huge fan of Dario Argento as well. I've seen him at Monster Mania. And I love his daughter, Asia Argento, as well. I love her work as well.
Well, I've been trying for a couple of years now to get Jessica Harper on here from Suspiria, and I have been in touch. It's just a matter of scheduling. She has expressed a willingness to come on. It's just a matter of getting that time. But I have had Stefania Cassini on here, and back in March, celebrating the 40th anniversary of Suspiria.
Wow, that's exciting. That's a beautiful film, too, because I love Dario, and I love that film especially because it's like horror, it's giallo, but it's also kind of like an art house kind of movie, too. It's just so beautiful with the lighting, the music, the cinematography. Dario Argento is an artist above all,
Yeah.
Love him.
And, of course, Deep Red, I always remember, of course, David Hemmings in it, and, of course, Daria Nicolodi with that little thing she did with her fingers and the cigarette. I'll never forget that.
Yeah, beautiful stuff.
Yeah, and you mentioned Jennifer Connelly. I think she's gorgeous. I still think she's gorgeous.
Oh, yeah, and in Creepers, Sergio was even saying, he's like, she was a very nice girl when he worked with her. She was just a little girl when they shot Creepers,
Yeah.
Which I think is called Phenomena in Italy. And, so he worked with her a little bit on some of the special effects, but he said she was just like this little girl then. It was like, cute. No one, you never know where anyone's career is going to go. And so many people that become really famous start out in the horror genre. Jennifer Connelly, we see, Jennifer Aniston, Kevin Bacon, so many people, Johnny Depp.
Yep.
It's Jamie Lee Curtis, of course.
Yep.
Start out in the horror genre because, people sometimes think that horror is an easy genre to act in. But I'm going to tell you, honestly, what you don't realize is that with the special effects that are involved, some of these things can't be duplicated. Sometimes we only get one take to shoot a scene, and it has to be perfect that one take. Like I was out shooting with Herschel Gordon-Lewis in Calgary, Canada, about a year or so ago, and we had David Schreiner, who was the special effects artist from Fargo, the TV show, and he worked on Herschel Gordon-Lewis's Blood Mania that'll be out later this year, and he did this wonderful special effects scene that I'm not allowed to talk about.
That's okay.
It's very bloody, I can say that. And
actually,
I only had one take.
When's the movie coming out?
Well, that was shot in Calgary, Canada, where you're from Canada, and
but this is not a live recording. This probably won't come out for a number of months, so it's an option to you.
Signed, so we're looking at later in 2017, maybe next year.
Okay, I'll let you keep it secret right now, just to be on the safe side. But go on, keep going.
Oh, yeah, we don't know. I'm not sure what I'm allowed to say because, they want people to see the movie. They don't want people to have any, inkling of what's going on until then.
Sure.
But David Schreiner was our makeup artist, and I'm going to say this. He's the only special effects artist I've worked with thus far that made me nauseous.
Oh.
Yeah, he did a fantastic job. An award-winning guy. He had Billy Bob Thornton's leg, I remember, in his workshop. I got to play with it and pet the leg hair on it. And I'll always remember that. And I posed with some pictures holding Billy Bob Thornton's leg.
Was Billy Bob Thornton in his bad Santa outfit?
Yeah, that was a good movie, Bad Santa. Yeah, so Herschel Gordon-Lewis was a big fan of Dave Trainer, the makeup artist, and Dave Trainer was a big fan of Herschel Gordon-Lewis, who unfortunately passed away last year at the ripe age of 86.
Okay.
He was an amazing man, an innovator of the horror genre. He really created the splatter genre, the godfather of gore. And he never really planned on dying, Herschel. He planned on making 4 more movies. So, but this, unfortunately, Blood Mania will be his final film, But he was living fully up until the end, making movies, going to conventions like Chiller, and I think he went down to one in Florida. I think he went to Paris with his wife the last year he was alive. And he was remembered at the end of the year by the Turner Classic Network that a lot of his films play on, especially around Halloween time.
Who did you say the special effects guy you met from the Dario Argento movies?
That was Sergio Stivoletti.
I wonder if he'd be interested to come on here.
You could message him on Facebook for sure, but just so you know, Sergio is not fully fluent in English, I would say.
Okay.
Like, he would be intermediate, maybe. So you could have him on, but I would say just be aware of that.
Okay, now you told me that, maybe I better be careful.
Oh, yeah, you could probably have him on and stuff, but you don't realize it, but not everybody, but some people in Italy don't speak English fluently. Like I know Dario Argento doesn't, because they don't use a lot of English in Italy. Like a lot of them speak Spanish, and they might speak French, but they don't have a lot of call to speak English, so they don't always speak it fluently. When I hung out with him, he spoke a decent amount of English.
Okay.
But so you could always ask him and have him on, but you see, you just have to be like a little patient with him and speak slowly.
Sure. No, that's all right. Yeah.
I'm sure he speaks 3 or 4 languages fluently, but English is probably not his strongest,
Okay, I get you.
That's okay. And that's true of all these Italian actors and directors. Like I've gone to a lot of panels and stuff at horror conventions, and just Italians from Italy don't have a lot of cause for speaking English, I guess, in Italy as compared to some other Europeans. A lot of them speak French. Amazing, amount of French, but just not, or maybe even German. But English doesn't come into play as quite as much. It's funny. But, they probably speak 4 or 6 languages, but not English as fluently as we would like. But, yeah, you could definitely look into Sergio Stivoletti is his name, which he told me the last name means little boots in Italian.
Okay.
So Sergio Little Boots, literally. And Genoveva Red. And red's my favorite color.
Yeah.
But he was a great guy to meet. I'm very aggressive in a sense. So when I knew I was going out to Rome, I looked up what horror people lived out in Rome, and I found him, and I figured we'd meet up. So I got to meet up with him and one of his friends who's a cinematographer, and we had a nice time sipping cappuccino and eating wonderful Italian food and pizza and everything, and hanging out in Rome, which was a beautiful city. So
You didn't reach
amazing.
out to Stefania Cassini because I know she's in Rome.
Well, I went in August, so to be honest,
Okay.
a lot of people in Rome were on holiday,
Okay. Yeah,
and
I
actually,
interviewed
quite,
her on Skype in March, and I was happy to get her on here and celebrate 40th anniversary of that film. Here's so was Phenomena his first film with Dario Argento?
I believe that it was, or Creepers, yes, I believe it was his first film. And then he did a number of films with Dario and then introduced a lot of really groundbreaking things. Sergio is thought of as the Tom Savini of Europe. He has his own school of special effects and everything. I did an article actually on him for UK Horror Scene. I write for UK Horror Scene every month, a column called A Life in Blood, Tales of a Horror Queen. And
Okay.
every month, depending on where I'm going and what I'm doing, I write about something completely different.
Okay.
So, yeah,
Well,
like in
what?
fact, I was just at Tribeca Film Festival this week,
Okay.
which was founded by Robert De Niro, and I met Eli Roth, who
Okay.
directed
There,
Cabin Fever.
there's a subtle guy.
Subtle?
Yeah.
I don't know, not too subtle. No, no. And well, he's an amazing guy if you think about it, because Eli was saying, and I'm going to put this in the interview, Cabin Fever was made in a $1 million budget.
Mm-hmm.
It made $100 million worldwide.
Yeah, he likes a lot of those. And again, I'm not looking down on him, but boy, he likes to do a lot of very brutal, gross stuff.
Well, I think the horror audience seems to really like that. Like,
I like
and
him. Don't get me
Sergio understood
wrong.
that too. Like, the gore and special effects element is really huge in the horror genre. It's a big selling point. And I guess in some ways it's almost kind of like an artistic thing too.
He,
That's why we spent all this money, having David Schrader come out and work on Herschel Gordon Lewis's Blood Mania.
hmm
Herschel Gordon Lewis certainly understood that, and his films are all about gore too.
Yeah, Eli Roth was the bear Jew in Glorious Bastards.
Oh yeah, he was great to meet, and I'm going to say something about him. I looked him up online to see what to get a good look at him before I went to go meet him, so I knew I would be able to recognize him. He's better looking in person than he actually is on film or in pictures.
He strikes me as somebody who just likes to have fun.
He seemed like a really nice guy, actually. I went up to him and I was like, "Hey, Eli Roth." I'm like, "I'm Genoveva Rossi, and I'm with UK Horror Scene." He's like, "Let's get a picture." He's like, "I've heard of UK Horror Scene." He seemed very, very approachable, and he was trying to do some promotion for Crypt TV, which is a new website and horror project that he's working on currently to showcase more horror directors that are out there. So that's kind of interesting. So very cool for him, and the horror genre is an exciting one, and it's one that he is really excited about because as a director, he's pretty mainstream. He could have directed any type of film.
Yep.
He chose horror,
He even
and
showed
that
up a
shows
few.
how exciting it is. It's something that I've loved since I was a child.
Yeah.
When I wanted to become an actress, I wanted to become a horror actress. I didn't go out there and be like, I want to be in a Colgate commercial or whatever, or I want to, be on Days of Our Lives. Like, I wanted to be a horror actress specifically.
Well, he was even in bit parts in like Rock of Ages. Like he just seems like a fun guy.
Oh, yeah, he has a great acting repertoire as well as a directing repertoire. He seems like a very smart guy when it comes to business as well.
Yeah.
He seems to have a really firm understanding of people. I got to sit in on his panel that he did with a number of directors and the CEO of Crypt TV. I'll be writing about it probably in a couple months for UKHorrorscene.com. That's one of the reasons why I went out there as a member of the press. My first time at Tribeca. It was a really good time. It was great meeting him. Fantastic stuff. Definitely he's a smart, innovative person in the horror genre and in show business in general. Definitely.
Do you have any favorite horror films?
That's a good question. Well, for me, I like some of the best ones for me. I always like The Exorcist a lot. I like Amityville Horror a lot. But one of my favorite horror films in the last couple of years was The Babadook.
Okay, I've heard of that. We didn't get that here.
Oh, that was a great one. I actually watched that when I was working on Herschel Gordon Lewis's Blood Mania with Herschel and our producer James Sato. They made me watch that, and it's an amazing film. I think the budget was $700,000, and it's a beautifully shot, really arty film about a woman and her son. Really, and this creature called the Babadook. It was really well put together. Like it looked like they spent millions on it.
I've seen
Beautiful.
I would have been 1 year old when The Exorcist came out in 1973, but I've seen it 5 times in movie theater screens, including midnight screenings. And I have a lot of respect for The Exorcist. Some of my favorites too. I like John Carpenter's Halloween a lot. I love the Hitchcock movies, like Psycho. And like stuff Brian De Palma did, like Dress to Kill, is one of my favorites. And stuff like Sisters and stuff like that he did. And of course, something like Ms. 45, which is another one that very underrated, and really enjoyed that as well. And of course, David Cronenberg, I have a lot of respect for as well. So stuff like
Oh,
that.
absolutely. I love his physical, like body horror that he incorporates into his films. Really fantastic, powerful.
I've done a lot of interviews with people in the horror film genre, and a lot of the Friday the 13th movies. I've done a lot of I don't know, like I've done one Cronenberg one, not with Cronenberg himself, but I've done, and of course, Stephanie I've had on. I've got over 50 of my interviews currently on my YouTube channel, but they're slowly pumping out. You're number 129, so yours will be a while going on there, but it'll be on the station here first, but which will be sooner. But
Well, if you want to find some that work with David Cronenberg, Lynn Lowry, who I'm friends with, I know she was in Shivers.
oh yeah,
Yeah, she's great. I just saw her a couple weeks ago at a convention. Beautiful lady, inside and out. Very talented actress. I've worked with her on a couple films, and she was in Shivers, and she was also in Cat People.
oh wow.
Back in the day,
Who is
she
this?
might be somebody you want to reach out to. I might be able to message her and see if she'd be into it. She's a really nice lady. Like I said, we're going to be in a film called Twin Carnation later next year. It looks like, with Bill Oberst Jr. and Michael Berryman. So very cool. So she's somebody that's been around for a little while and has worked with some of these very classic horror films. I've been acting in the horror genre since October 2011, when I did my first film, Jacko Slasher. So I haven't been acting long enough to be in some of these classic films because they were like before I was born and stuff. But unless they went into a time machine. But I'm lucky to be in Herschel Gordon Lewis's Blood Mania, his final film. That was very fortunate, and I'm really excited to have a celebrity cameo also in Death House, which is directed by Harrison Smith, and Gunnar Hansen helped write the script from Leatherface from Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
Yeah.
In it, it stars Kane Hodder, Dee Wallace, Barbara Crampton, Adrienne Barbeau, Michael Berryman, Sid Haig, Brink Stevens is in it, Tiffany Shepis. Oh, my goodness. So many more people, but those are the ones that are popping into my head right now.
I've interviewed two of them.
What?
I've interviewed two of them. I've had Adrienne Barbeau and Dee Wallace both on here the same day. It was actually November 7th, 2015. I had both of them on at separate times that day.
Oh, wonderful! They're both such amazing, talented people. Fantastic. It was really fantastic to work with them. I'm a huge fan of their work. I always liked Adrienne Barbeau a lot. This TV show that's on DVD now called Carnival.
Okay.
I think she's like a snake charmer in a circus, a traveling carnival, I should say. And I really liked her a lot in that. She's really amazing in everything that she does. And, of course, Dee Wallace, Barbara Crampton, all of them, every actor. And I love Kane Hodder. Kane Hodder and I have been guests at, I think, 4 or 6 conventions together. He's an amazing guy, and that was my first time being on set with him. I hope to be on set with him again soon. He is such a great guy, great energy. And Michael Berryman and I, we first did our first film together, Apocalypse Kiss, I think in 2012. Tom Atkins is also in that, and D.C. Douglas. Michael Berryman is an amazing guy, and he pops up in Death House. I interviewed him about that a while ago for UK Horror Scene as well, and he's going to be in Twin Carnation with Lynn Larry and I next year. So we're really excited about that. I just saw him a couple weeks ago too. Love Michael Berryman, great guy, great guy.
Yeah. Nope. I had those two on, and they're both on my YouTube channel currently. But yeah, let's look at some of the films that you've been in. Like you mentioned, Jacko Slasher was your first. Talk about being on set for that first movie, what that experience was like, and how you got to be in it.
Well, somebody had messaged me on Facebook. Was like, my sister's working on a horror movie. Do you want to be in it? So I was like, okay. So she wrote me this part as a sexy Satanist wearing my bra and panties in the middle of a cornfield. So I was like, that sounds good. I'll do that. But I didn't think about the fact that we would be filming this, I think, the end of October, and it would be 30 degrees at night in the middle of a cornfield. It was very cold.
Okay.
And that was my first introduction to, like, you know, acting and film not being as glamorous as you think it would be, because we were really, really cold. And I remember I had these little, like, heating things in my boots, the kind that people use when they go hunting, and I was putting on my jacket in between takes. And that was my first horror film, and I met James Balsamo on the set. And right after that, I worked on I Spill Your Guts, which Lynn Larry is in, and I believe Deborah Rashawn is also in that film, and my friend Bob Sachi, and my friend Edward X. Young, and so many wonderful, talented people in the whole indie horror genre. And I've worked with James Balsamo of Acid Bath Productions on, I think, 7-8 films. We just filmed, in fact, a movie called The Lich. I play a gypsy fortune teller. We filmed that about a month or two ago. And Tom Sizemore is going to be in it as well. So I'm really stoked to be in a film with Tom Sizemore. I'm a big fan of his work. So that's how it started. You just kind of get thrown into things. I met, I'm on the set of Jacko Slasher, directed by Jen Valdez, that has worldwide distribution. I meet James Balsamo. I end up working in his films and build a relationship with him that continues to this day. My friend Bob Sachi and I worked together on that film, and we've worked together, I think, on maybe 20 films since then. And it's a small family, you know, the horror genre. Even Eli Roth said that the other day. The horror genre, even worldwide, is like a family. And everybody works with each other and helps each other. And we all know each other. You know, and we all hang at these conventions, sign autographs, and we're buddies for the, you know, like for the weekend. We all get to hang out together, eat dinner, sign autographs, hang out with the fans. You know, it's great. And that's how it all began with Jacko Slasher.
Well, you know, I got James Balsamo's name down here, and I looked at his acting reel. You've done a lot of stuff with him, and he's. I've never seen this guy before, but it's like his name was all over your resume, and so I started checking out some of his stuff, and I looked at his reel. This guy's got a great sense of humor. He doesn't take himself seriously, kind of like a modern-day Bruce Campbell, so to speak.
Oh, yeah, and, you know, and he is somebody that's gone through a lot of, you know, acting classes. He's a director. He went to film school. You know, so he's really on top of his game. But, yeah, he loves the comedic horror genre the most. So I've been in like 6 or 8 of his films. You know, we did I Spill Your Guts. Then we did Cool as Hell, Catch of the Day. Oh, my goodness. And then, you know, so many more films. And then the last one was The Lich, which I'm really, really excited about. Oh, and Killer Waves just came out. I forgot about that one. That's a surfer horror film. That's pretty exciting, too. I play a surfer, and then I have a nice celebrity cameo and stuff. Yeah, James and I are really great friends. We were just at Mad Monster Party in South Carolina where we were both guests signing autographs and stuff. He's a really, really amazing, funny guy. But, you know, all of his films, I'll give kudos to James. You know, he writes the scripts, he acts in them, he directs, he promotes his films, he markets them. He does everything. You know, he's really like a jack of all trades. So, and he's a good friend of mine, in fact, too. You know, we met on Jacko Slasher in October 2011, and we've been buddies ever since. We're both very ambitious, motivated, silly people.
Yeah, I think I should reach out to him too, because I was quite happy to see what I've seen of him on his acting reel, and seems like a really good sense of humor. One film I do want to talk about that got my attention was Catch of the Day, because I mean, look at the cameos in that. Jake the Snake Roberts, one of my
Oh, yes.
all-time favorite WWE personalities. I've always been a fan. Did you get to work at all with him in that film?
Was not on set with him. I mostly had like a celebrity cameo in Catch of the Day, which is Jake the Snake Roberts also has a celebrity cameo. James is known for getting a lot of really great, hard-to-get celebrity cameos and filling his movies with them, and it's pretty exciting. I have been a guest at a couple conventions with Jake the Snake Roberts, though.
What's he like?
Really, really nice guy, though. He signs autographs at a lot of horror conventions, Comic-Cons. Great guy.
I've always been a fan of Jake the Snake. I always felt bad because in wrestling, I think it was rough on him in wrestling, and I don't think he was always treated the best. But I always got pissed off that he was never giving a title, because I think he'll be remembered long after some of the current WWE guys are forgotten, including Roman Reigns, the most overrated ballyhoo guy there now. Jake will still be remembered, but
speaking of wrestling, you know who I was a guest with a couple weeks ago at a MusiCon?
Okay.
Nikolai Volkov.
Did you sing the anthem with him?
No, but we were in the break room, and I was saying to him, I'm like, when you wrestled, that was like the best time for wrestling, because you can even watch that in reruns on cable TV now.
Yeah.
Like, that was a fantastic era. You had Hulk Hogan, Nikolai Volkov, Jake the Snake Roberts, the Iron Sheik, like all these amazing Junkyard Dog.
Roddy Piper.
Wrestlers. Exactly. Roddy Piper, God bless his soul, that we lost.
Ricky the Dragon Steamboat.
Actor and wrestler.
Ricky the Dragon Steamboat, Bret the Hitman Hart. And in my opinion, one of the all-time great champions, Bruno Sammartino.
And let's not forget Andre the Giant. That was a great wrestler.
Oh, yes.
Too.
Andre the Giant, yep. And, of course, the Nature Boy, Ric Flair.
Well, and that brings me to another movie I worked on that stars and was produced by a former wrestler that worked with the WWE, and that's Gene Snitsky.
Okay.
With WWE for a few years. And we worked on a film with Ernie O'Donnell from the Kevin Smith movies, including Clerks, called 100 Acres.
Okay.
And I have a celebrity cameo and a part in that film. It's, Gene Snitsky and Ernie go on a camping trip out in the middle of the woods, and they run into a degenerate mutation cannibal guy.
Who, Kane?
Which definitely you have to be careful of when you go camping. No, I'm just kidding. But so that's going to be coming out probably, I would think, next year, 100 Acres. And there's a wonderful trailer for that online. It's a really solid film. I think the budget must have been, somewhere around $1 million or something like that. Very solid. And I was on set when Gene and Samu were doing their stunt scenes.
Okay.
Amazing to watch these humongous guys throwing each other around. Wrestlers are fantastic stuntmen.
Did Jake put the snake on you?
Excuse me?
Did Jake put the snake on you?
Oh, no. He wasn't in that film, unfortunately, Jake the Snake, no.
No, I mean at the convention.
Oh, no. I don't remember if he had the snake with him. I wonder if he's still alive. Because snakes do live a really long time. He might still be with us. I hope so.
Yeah, I'm a big Jake the Snake fan. But even Catch of the Day, Tuesday Night was in that. Debbie Rochon, Jennifer Bonco.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they're all staples, especially in the horror genre.
Exactly right. He gets some really amazing people. I know he got Linnea Quigley for one of his upcoming films. I've been in 2 films now with Linnea Quigley as well. We're in a film called Hunters that people can actually find online right now. Very, very popular. Hunters stars me, Tina Krause, Ellie Church, Linnea Quigley, Jason Vale, who was in Tyler Perry's Boo recently. It's an amazing horror film by Adam Albrandt. And not for the squeamish. It's pretty hardcore.
Okay.
So I was really charged up to finally work with Linnea Quigley because I had been a fan of her when I was a kid. I loved her Night of the Demons. That's my favorite Linnea Quigley movie. I think it's cool. I like that movie. But so I got to work with her, and I've been at conventions with Atlantic Quigley a couple times. And speaking of Tuesday Nightly, I'm actually going to be a guest with her and John Dugan from Texas Chainsaw Massacre in Birmingham, United Kingdom, the weekend of October 28th.
Okay.
So that's going to be really exciting. I'm going to go out to the United Kingdom and meet exciting horror fans in England, sign autographs, and hang out with really cool horror people. So it'll be really exciting. It's my first international convention appearance. So.
Well, you're getting places, because I've never been outside New Brunswick. Do you know where I'm located here in New Brunswick, Canada?
Where?
Like, have you ever been out this way?
Where have I been in Canada? I've been to Calgary. I've been to Vancouver, Toronto, and Montreal.
So you haven't been out to New Brunswick?
No.
No. I live in a city called Fredericton. Fredericton is in New Brunswick. And I'd say our closest celebrities, and this will be a test for you if you know where we are the Trailer Park Boys.
Are they wrestlers?
Nope.
Oh, no, no.
Ivan Reitman produced their first movie of 3 movies, and they've done a TV series that's lasted about 12 seasons now. And yep, I think you'll like them. They're 3 weed smokers that live in a trailer park, and it's comedy, but it's funny.
Well, and that's relatable. That's what I think is important. People like to watch things that they can kind of relate to. That sounds nice and down to earth, you know.
Well, they've got 3 movies though. I recommend you check out at least the first one, you know. And like I said, Ivan Reitman produced the first movie that they did, and Ivan Reitman's definitely no slouch in the movie world.
No slouch indeed.
No.
Oh, very cool. I'll have to check that out. Thank you for the recommendation. I appreciate it. I've only filmed that in Canada once, and that was in Calgary, Canada. But you know what I do every year for the last couple of years? I go as a member of the press for UK Horror Scene out to the Fantasia International Film Festival in Montreal.
Okay.
That's
Speaking of Montreal, we're excited because there's going to be a sequel to Bon Cop, Bad Cop coming out. And, of course, the original Bon Cop, Bad Cop was the highest-grossing film in Canada. It outgrossed Porky's.
Oh, wonderful. Who knew?
Have you seen...
Porky's is such a great film.
Have you seen Bon Cop, Bad Cop?
No, I haven't. I have seen Porky's, though.
You got to see Bon Cop, Bad Cop. It's half English and half French. It's a bilingual movie.
Oh, wonderful. Oh, interesting. But I really enjoy Canadian culture, though. I've been out there, a few times on trips and stuff. I have a lot of acting and directing and producing friends out in Canada. I like the culture, go to my Tim Hortons to get my coffee and stuff, Yeah, everybody's always so warm and friendly, very nice.
Yeah, here we got a saying. We don't get our Starbucks, we get our Timmies.
Exactly. Yeah, I did a lot of Tim Hortons when I was out there. Pretty funny. The only time you can get Tim Hortons in America is really if you're in the Buffalo area, because Buffalo is so close to Canada that it's almost has a little bit of a Canadian culture there.
Yeah.
And I've gone out there to film a couple films, and then I've driven to Toronto right afterwards. Because it's pretty close to Niagara Falls and everything. But otherwise in America we don't have very much Tim Hortons.
Oh, gee, there are people here that they can't get through the day without Tim Hortons. And it's that Tim Hortons coffee.
It's highly addictive.
It is.
What they put in that coffee.
Now you mentioned Cool as Ice. Of course, that had Tom Savini and American Werewolf in London's David Naughton in it.
Oh yes, David Naughton. I just spoke to David Naughton actually today. We're good friends actually after working together on that film, and we were also guests together at Bizarre AC, a horror convention in Atlantic City a few years ago. And we've been friends and keeping in touch ever since then. Amazing guy, David Naughton. He's such an amazing actor, consistently booked, to this day.
Maybe you can help me out, because last year I was trying hard to get somebody on my show for the 35th anniversary of American Werewolf in London. Now, I got a couple people from The Howling, but American Werewolf in London, I could not find contact for anybody. In fact, the one person I did find contact information for never responded.
Oh, well, I could always email him with your info, and then he decides in the end whether or not he's going to message you back. I've done that with some people. I don't want to pressure anybody, but all of a sudden
sure.
I can send them your contact info, and then David Norton, depending on his schedule, we'll get back to you because he is kind of a busy guy. I tried to get him into a movie that I was in, no lie, and because they were very interested in him, and I was in the film, and he really wanted to do another film with me and everything. But the week they needed him, David was booked because he's a busy guy. He's a busy guy. It's hard sometimes to budget things as an actor because we're on the road between acting in films and doing convention appearances, and it can be really busy and overwhelming. And then once in a while we get these last-minute acting things where we have to hop on a plane immediately and fly out somewhere and act in something.
Yeah.
It's very unpredictable, the life of an actor,
Yeah, I love American Werewolf in London, but when I do these interviews, it's always fun and satisfying to highlight movies I really like, and you can't do that any better than to have people on the show that have been in these movies. And American Werewolf was one I kind of eluded me last year. I did get to promote some movies I really, really liked, and same with this year. I've pretty much gotten to promote a lot of my favorite movies from 1982, and I'm happy about that. And a lot of the movies.
I think American Werewolf in London might be the best werewolf movie I think I've ever seen.
You know what? Between that and The Howling, I like both of them pretty much the same. I've had a couple people.
Yes.
Yeah, I've had Belinda Belansky and Dee Wallace on here from The Howling, and they were great. And like The Howling, love American Werewolf. To me, they're a toss-up. I like both of them, And but I did search out for American Werewolf. It kind of eluded me, but I'll send you my info, and if he can't do it, he can't do it, no pressure.
Well, that's the thing. He's a very nice guy. We were just messaging today. We talk quite a bit, David Norton and I. He's a really nice guy. I actually lost a family member recently, and he was really, very consoling. He's a really, really nice guy. But, he has a busy schedule, as we all do as actors. It's kind of just like a tough thing. That's why I think a lot of us... it's very challenging, sometimes being married, having a family, having a cat, and when you're an actor, because it's like you're always on the road, you're always traveling, you have so many commitments, and every acting role that you have is really important because you don't know what it's going to lead to, and if you don't know if the film's going to explode or not,
Is he still talking to the walking meatloaf?
The walking meatloaf?
Yeah. I'm making a joke about Griffin Dunn being the walking corpse in the movie he kept seeing.
Oh, yeah. I'm just saying, it's very, it's a very time-consuming kind of job to have. It's like a full-time passion. It's more than a full-time job. So sometimes I would say some of the actors, if they have an inability to do interviews, and some actors I know barely do any interviews because their schedule just doesn't allow. It's just it's overwhelming because you get cast in these films, and you might have a lot of dialogue, and maybe you only have a week to memorize it. And you're just running it and running it and running it. And it's hard sometimes to make time for anything else in your life, And for me, I'm a full-time actor. I make convention appearances. I'm also a journalist writing for UK Horror Scene and the Digital Dead, both located in the United Kingdom. Plus, I'm a professional tarot card reader, so I travel around the world also reading tarot cards at events.
Okay. Well, there's a few of your other films I need to ask about, because after all, we're promoting you, and we want people to look at your movies. And we talked about Jacko Slasher and Cool as Ice, and we talked about Catch of the Day.
Cool as Hell.
Oh, Cool as Ice. Oh, my goodness, we don't want to. Oh, I'm sorry about that.
You don't watch Cool as Ice, like Vanilla Ice, but that's okay if you do. But Cool as Hell.
Yeah, she's not in the Vanilla Ice movie, people. That was my bad.
No, I'm not that old, I don't think. I don't think I could have been in that movie, but I've heard of it.
But Skid Row, there's one that you were in that showed up on my list.
Oh, and that's an interesting one. I was just telling somebody about that last night, in fact. That stars Frank Stallone, who is Sylvester Stallone's cousin, not his brother, because his brother's also named Frank. But evidently their grandfather was named Frank, and a lot of people in the family are also named Frank. So Frank Stallone starred in it. It's kind of like this detective story. I would say it's kind of like a Giallo film. And I acted in that. The director was Michael Sergenovich. I'm sure I said his name wrong. And that was a really kind of a fun movie that we shot a couple of years ago. We shot that, I think, right after Hurricane Sandy. So like Long Island was kind of ripped apart by the storm, which was disastrous. A lot of people lost their homes. A couple of my friends lost their homes, in fact. And I had to drive out to Long Island to shoot that in the aftermath, But the show must go on. That's show business for you, No matter what happens, we all have to keep rolling. But Skid Row, I knew, signed a distribution deal fairly recently, so that should be available online to buy and probably stream soon.
Okay. Now, you mentioned earlier Apocalypse Kiss. Talk about that one.
Well, Apocalypse Kiss was one of my most exciting films early on. I think it was maybe one of my first 5 films, and I'm up to like 91 now. So I'm a little nostalgic about the first 5. It seems so long ago, even though it really wasn't. It was like 2002 or something, but that we filmed that. But Apocalypse Kiss, I'm 9 months pregnant in that.
Okay.
Pretty exciting. I give birth in that movie, which I was excited to do because you don't really get to give birth that many times when you're an actor. It was a unique role for me, and to be 9 months pregnant like that. And it was a film starring D.C. Douglas, who's the primary voice of Resident Evil, the video game. He's Wexler. Which is pretty amazing. And then also Michael Berryman's in it, and he's fantastic. And Tom Atkins. I love Tom Atkins.
Yeah.
I was just a guest with him at Scaricon. Got to hang out with him a little bit. Cool guy. Love Tom Atkins. So we're all in Apocalypse Kiss. It's a sci-fi thriller set 4 years into the future. D.C. Douglas is a serial killer. He's killing off people in the poor section of town. And we have a police officer, a detective, who's trying to track him down. Tom Atkins is the head detective. Michael Berryman is the owner of a corporation that pretty much owns the whole entire world. I'm a pregnant hippie working at a cafe that all the main characters come to.
Okay.
And Lloyd Kaufman of Troma is the president of the United States. So this sounds like an epic film, doesn't it? You can watch this film on Amazon.com. And if you are a member of Amazon Prime, I think you can even watch it for free right now for a certain period of time. But that's Apocalypse Kiss. It's a beautiful film. We shot that out in Pennsylvania in 2012.
Okay. And, of course, Bite School.
Oh, Bite School. I have a wonderful celebrity cameo in that. I play Succarella. I look kind of like Peggy Bundy from Married with Children if she had been a vampire.
Well, I
came up with that character.
I don't think she would have sucked on Al Bundy. I don't think there'd been anything there.
Yeah. So Bite School, it's like James Balsamo's vampire movie. It's a horror comedy. He's got a lot of cool cameos in it. It's a really fun movie. All of his films are really, really fun. He specializes in the horror comedy usually. His films are about having a really good time,
Okay, you got
good.
The Abducted.
Oh, that's a short film actually that I was in that will be part of an anthology coming out probably next year called Death at a Barbecue.
Okay.
And the wonderful thing I want to say about The Abducted, it was directed by Larry Rosen, is it has already won at least 14 awards at film festivals, and I won Best Actress at LA Shorts Awards Film Festival.
Okay.
It's not even a horror film festival, and I won Best Actress, so that's kind of exciting for me. So I was competing against people that were doing non-horror films, so that's cool. I like that.
You got one on here called Midnight Show. Now, that has an interesting premise to it.
Oh, yeah, that one hasn't come out yet, but I'm in it. I know Ron Jeremy's in it, who was known for doing porn movies, I think, back in the day. I don't think I've seen any of them, but, I know that's what he's known for. And Lemmy from Motorhead actually was in it. I'm actually a bigger fan of Lemmy from Motorhead because I like heavy rock and roll, heavy metal music that makes you just want to go out and kick somebody in the head, and Motorhead was all about that. So it's an honor to be in a film with Lemmy, who unfortunately is no longer with us, but did act in a number of horror films, and was I think he even had a music video that used some bits and pieces from Hellraiser in it. Great dude, Lemmy.
Yeah, and Escape from Kings Park.
Oh, that one we did a few years ago. I think that they're talking to distributors right now about that one, hopefully getting it out there. I'm in that with my good friends Bettina Sky and Edward X. Young. And Jen Valdez from Jacko Slasher was also part of the production team, and I think she directed that one as well. So maybe next year we'll hopefully have distribution on that.
Then you got one on here, Jesus, Daughter of God.
Oh, that's an interesting one. That one was directed by somebody named Beelzebub, who has a lot of really crazy cult films. And it's about a go-go dancer who quantum leaps into the body of Jesus.
Oh, okay.
It's a religious comedy. It's not really a horror movie. And I play a spy disguised as a prostitute sent to kill St. Peter.
Oh, okay.
I know. It's a pretty bizarre movie, actually, I would say. But Beelzebub makes these really bizarre films. But it's a great title. It makes you want to watch it, Jesus, Daughter of God. You know, it's just like, you hear that and you're like, wow, what is that, you know? So,
yeah.
Cool.
I get a little conflicted feelings because I come from a Christian background, so but again, I like horror films and whatnot.
I come from a Catholic background, and I would say that I am pretty Catholic.
Yeah.
But I talked to Bill about it before I acted in the film, and and you know, acting is acting, and when I played, any film is not an extension of who I am in real life. Like if I play a cannibal, it doesn't mean I'm probably going to eat anybody.
No.
You know, if I play a prostitute, it doesn't mean I'm a prostitute. If I'm gay, it doesn't mean I'm gay. If I'm a vampire, I'm probably not really a vampire. I also did a Christian film called Tapestry, I guess about a year ago. That should be out maybe next year, with Stephen Baldwin, who's a born-again Christian and a fantastic human being, and Tina Louise from Gilligan's Island is in that, and Burt Young from Rocky.
Okay.
So I don't like to limit myself as an actor. I did a theater production actually last year called Harlots and Heresy. I was one of the leads, and I played Delilah, Samson Delilah. It was a biblical play.
Okay. What did you think?
As an actor, like I said, I don't limit myself. I like to kind of run the gamut, and just, you know, it's all part of my evolution creatively, you know.
Okay, no, I'm not judging you, but I was just wondering, what did you think?
You might not like a religious comedy if you're a religious person.
Actually, I like Dogma. I like Monty Python's Life of Brian.
Better when that comes out, because that stars Stephen Baldwin, and it's really about a man who has a spiritual awakening.
Okay.
That might appeal to you more. And that's why we make these movies. Different movies appeal to different people.
I do like Life of Brian and Dogma, so, you know. But I wanted to ask you, speaking of blood and gore, what did you think of The Passion of the Christ? Because you talk about a gory religious film.
Oh, well, I saw that, and I also saw The Last Temptation of Christ as well, and I've seen a whole bunch of religious movies. I even saw a wonderful movie about St. Francis called Brother, Sun, Sister, Moon, with some amazing music from the 60s. It's kind of psychedelic. That's a great religious movie, actually. But yeah, The Passion of the Christ. It was very gory and it was very bloody. I think it was pretty artsy as well.
Very artistically done, yeah.
It's like an art house kind of religious film.
Yep.
And I actually like The Passion of the Christ. I like The Last Temptation of Christ as well, with William Dafoe. I'm a big William Dafoe fan. And I thought that, you know, that's a difficult part to play, certainly, but I thought William Dafoe did a good job. I thought that was a good movie. And Brother, Sun, Sister, Moon is a film about St. Francis that I love, with the music of Donovan.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, you got to see that movie. It's like psychedelic. It's like St. Francis, St. Clair, you know, feeding lepers, like all those like amazing things happening. It's really an inspiring film. That, to me, might be my favorite religious film. So.
You also have another film down here, A Dark Place Inside.
Oh, that's one of my favorite films I did. That's kind of like a dramatic horror film for me. I play the mother of a little boy, played by Kieran Boyle, who's being sexually molested by his father, and is going to in flashback scenes. And in modern times, he is a serial killer. And what happened to him as a child is the reason why he's a serial killer. So I'm his mother in that film. That was a really interesting film. We shot that out in the Philadelphia area, directed by Mike O'Mahony, who also did a film called IBS that I had a cameo in, and Sloppy the Psychotic Clown he also directed. What a great title. That's fantastic. But A Dark Place Inside, that has worldwide distribution. I just sold a couple of those at a convention recently. I really enjoyed that. A lot of my films that I do are kind of like dramatic horror films.
Mm-hmm.
A Dark Place Inside, it was a very dramatic role for me. Apocalypse Kiss was dramatic too. I'm pregnant, I'm giving birth. I like those kinds of roles that are really challenge me.
Tapestry, what was that about again?
Well, Tapestry stars Stephen Baldwin.
Yep.
And he's a man whose life, I guess, is kind of falling apart. His marriage is falling apart. And he's kind of having this spiritual awakening. His parents are played by Tina Louise from Gilligan's Island. She was Ginger. And Burt Young, who played Paulie in the Rocky franchise. Mm-hmm. It was amazing to meet and work with all these people. It was really fantastic. Stephen Baldwin has a great sense of humor. I was on set a couple of days for that film. Hopefully that should come out next year.
Is that a pure?
One, I think in post.
Is that a Pure Flix film?
It's like it's a Christian film. It's very Christian.
Well, the thing is, there's a lot of Christian films that suck. Like Fireproof, for example, that was shit. Mm-hmm. Any of these Kirk Cameron ones, Saving Christmas, forget about them. They're awful. But I
would hope that I think it's going to be good just because I'm in it, really. But
well,
I could elevate it. No, I'm kidding. But no, everything looked really good and really tight when I was on set. It was directed by somebody named Ken Kushner, who's a director out of the New York City area. And, and Stephen Baldwin was just amazing to watch him act, a true professional, true. Amazing. I follow him on Twitter quite a bit, and I really enjoy all of his wonderful scripture quotes that he posts regularly. Sometimes you're having a hard day, check out his Twitter, and he'll post something that really fits, what you're going through.
Do you think he sends those to Alec?
Oh, I don't know. You'd have to ask him. I'm not sure how. We didn't discuss his personal life or anything like that. But I know he spends a lot of time working with different charities and organizations worldwide. So, he seemed like a very nice guy.
Do you have any charities that you're involved with?
Well, I guess like the one charities that I like to give to is there's some Native American people out in the Idaho region and in the Dakotas. I tend to send them presents for Easter and Christmas.
Okay.
Because our Native American people, I think, are the most oppressed people, unfortunately, that we have in America. They live on these reservations where they don't have access to the best health care, to the best food, to the best educations. So I don't usually send money. I like to send them like toys and books and things along those lines, blankets and things along those lines.
Okay.
And that area that they live in, the South Dakota region, is kind of like the ground zero of the Native American population. The average lifespan, I think, of a Native American person in that region is maybe 55, which is worse than a lot of third world countries.
Okay.
So I would definitely say if anybody's listening and you want to donate to an underprivileged group of people, our Native American brothers and sisters, should be people that we think of, for sure.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. And also speaking of Native American people, I have a whole bunch of, what do you guys call them, First Nation friends that I met when I was in Calgary, Canada. Mm-hmm. I had a lot of fun with them. There's a huge Native American population out in Calgary, and they do like a lot of these Westerns. A lot of them are these beautiful men and women that end up in like Westerns, and some of them worked on Herschel Gordon Lewis's Blood Mania, and they were great to work with too. And I keep in touch with a lot of them via Facebook. Great people.
Okay. Do you have like a web page you want to promote?
I do have a website. It's called www.genovevarossi.com. And what you're probably asking yourself is, how do I spell that exciting name? It's G as in girl, E-N as in Nancy, O-V-E-V-A, Rossi, R-O-S-S-I, genovevarossi.com. And that will tell you how to link to my Instagram, my Twitter, and my Facebook. You can follow everything that's going on in my exciting and fun life. I'm just kidding. But, I do post a lot of fun pictures of what I'm doing, in my social life, my professional life, my writing life, my acting life. I just went to a nice film screening with some friends. I went to Tribeca this week as well. I went to the Manhattan Film Festival this week. I make a lot of personal appearances. I was just at a wonderful convention in Utica called We Need a Hero Con. and I was a guest. And know who was a guest with me? I had the guy from Aqua Teen Hunger Force that played the French fry character.
Okay.
And I also had the Blue and the White Ranger from Power Rangers. Those were my neighbors.
Okay.
I'm a fan of both of those shows, so that's pretty cool. And then Brian O'Halloran and Scott Schaffo from Clerks were there, and the Kevin Smith movies, and I'm a big fan of Kevin Smith and all those movies. It was, wonderful to be there. It's wonderful the people that you get to meet and hang out with. It's fantastic. And, let us all remember Tony Moran right now in our prayers, who recently lost his sister.
Okay.
I spoke to him a little bit this week. He seems to be taking a little hard.
Okay.
His sister had been on Happy Days back in the day.
Oh, that's right, Erin.
Yeah, Erin, and she had suddenly passed. And he's having a tough time in his family as well with that. So our blessings, of course, go out to them. I reached out and gave my condolences online. Tony Moran and I have been guests at a couple conventions together. And he was Michael Myers in the first Halloween film.
Mm-hmm.
So he's going through a tough time, so our prayers should go out to him and, his family and our thoughts right now, So, we're all really, family, I think, in the horror community and show business as well. We all are so interconnected. It's amazing. But, crazy. But let's see, going back to some of the films that I've been in, what other ones do you have that would you like to ask about?
Those were just all the ones that were on the sheet that I had.
Very good. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I'm gonna say Herschel Gordon Lewis's Blood Mania is a big one.
Okay.
Death House, definitely want to check out that one. When it comes out, The Lich with Tom Sizemore and myself and James Balsamo is a really great one. Right now, you can buy Hunters with me and Linnea Quigley, but I warn you, it's not for the faint of heart. It is a hardcore horror film. Shocking, I would say.
Okay.
It's probably my most shocking horror film thus far. I recently did a short film called Mr. Bones. I'm really excited about that one.
Mm-hmm.
It'll be going to some film festivals soon. And as I said, The Abducted will be part of an anthology called Death at a Barbecue. And that short film has won over 14 awards, and all of the shorts in that will be award-winning shorts. So that's directed by Larry Rosen. So a lot of really, really exciting things coming up, and I know I'm in the process right now of kind of signing some contracts and hooking up with some more films for later this year and next year. And again, I want to pitch Birmingham HorrorCon. That's coming. That's going to be October 28th, that weekend. I'm going to be in Birmingham, United Kingdom, signing with John Dugan and Tuesday Nightly and a whole bunch of exciting people in the horror genre. I'm stoked.
Oh, yes, absolutely.
I'm truly honored to be going out there. I love England. I haven't been there in a few years. I went there for New Year's a few years ago to London. This will be my first time in Birmingham. I write for UK Horror Scene in the Digital Dead that are both based in the United Kingdom, and I have been told my sense of humor is somewhat British.
Okay.
Yeah, because I was originally interviewed by UK Horror Scene by Dean Sills, actually a couple of years ago, and he interviewed me and asked me if I was in a desert island, what would I want with me?
Okay.
And I gave kind of a bawdy answer. I said I would want a solar-powered vibrator. Because I'm going to probably be there for the rest of my life. So, we all have needs and we get lonely. You know what I'm saying? That's what I said. He said that sounded like pretty British, like something you would have heard in Absolutely Fabulous or Monty Python. So I take that as a compliment. And he published that in my interview. And then a couple years later, I ended up writing for UK Horror Scene. So everybody can check that out, ukhorrorscene.com. And it's called A Life in Blood, Tales of a Horror Queen by Genoveva Rossi, which is me.
What's the most difficult thing you've shot so far?
Physically difficult or emotionally difficult?
Well, like the most challenging altogether. In fact, you can even go one or the other, say one of both.
Well, I shot one film with a rather severe injury. I had been hospitalized, and I ended up coming back with a severe injury and continuing to shoot. Sometimes people ask me, like, why am I more successful than a lot of other actresses like that out there? But I'm going to be like, probably because I shot a film with a broken leg, and I don't think a lot of people are going to do that, And probably because 1 week after my mother died, I shot Death House. And on the day of my mother's memorial service, when I literally had her remains, her crematory remains in my car, I shot 100 Acres of Hell with Jay Lee, who is the director of Zombie Strippers.
Okay.
So I would say, and it is very difficult. Life, is really, really difficult. And I guess as an actor, it's like the show must always go on. It's like no matter what happens in your life, no matter how difficult or how terrible it gets emotionally or physically, if you want to be a successful actor, you got to pick yourself up and you got to keep going no matter what,
Well, we connected through Steve Joyner. Did you like me, encountered him through social media?
Exactly right. We connected, I believe, through Facebook, in fact.
Yeah. Are you going to be doing his podcast?
Oh, yeah, most likely. I'm going to have to give him a call. I've just been so busy for the last week or two. It's, amazing. Sometimes, I don't even know when I'm going to find time to sleep, I keep myself on a very, very kind of tight schedule at times between public appearances, interviews, shooting, production meetings for different films that I do, rehearsals. It's kind of an insane life, being an actor. And it's definitely not a life for everyone because it is very difficult. You deal with a lot of rejection.
Mm-hmm.
You deal with sometimes people putting you down a little bit. You always have to keep on moving forward. Life can be really difficult. People can get very jealous of you. You can end up with a lot of haters, especially as you become more and more successful,
Yeah.
It's not a job that everyone would want. I think you should only do it if you feel like you maybe have a divine calling for it, that you feel like it's the thing that you're meant to do. Because if it's not, you're probably not going to stay with it because it's going to be, when people say you have to suffer for your art, you know what? They weren't kidding.
No.
And if you're not willing to suffer, I don't think you're going to be a great actor. All great actors, I think, that are really successful have had to really suffer and persevere for their art, It's crazy. It's a much more difficult job than I had ever thought that it was going to be when I first started out. I had been doing theater and grammar school, high school, and I segued into just doing short films in college. And then my first horror film was Jacko Slasher. So, I've been acting for quite some time in different capacities. And you say, oh, I want to be a professional actor, and people don't really know what that means sometimes. But it's a very difficult life. Sometimes it's lonely. You get a lot of people saying no to you. Most actors are unemployed. It's a struggle. It's a lot of perseverance. And you have to keep going, really no matter what.
What would you say is your favorite movie you've done so far?
So far, I don't know if I could say that there would be a favorite film so far, but I think some of the ones that have been the most important for my career, I think Apocalypse Kiss meant a lot for me because it was one of my first 5 films. It was my first time working with some big-name actors like Tom Atkins and Michael Berryman. And I think that helped me grow a lot as an actor because I had to step up my game. I had to grow. I had to evolve. You never want to be in a film, and I think Al Pacino said this, where you're the best actor because then you don't grow.
No.
If you're in a film and you're the best actor or you're in a room and you're the smartest person, you got to find another room to go in because you want to grow from others. So when you're in a movie like Apocalypse Kiss, like I was, you're with people like D.C. Douglas, who's been acting for over 20 years. You're with Michael Berryman, who's been acting since the 70s. You're with Tom Atkins, which I don't even know how long he's been acting for, but it's a very long time. It makes you step up your game and grow as an actor. So I think Apocalypse Kiss, in a lot of ways, was a really important film for me because it helped me to grow,
Okay.
Yeah, so I think that was an important one for me for the growth and development for myself artistically.
Now, these conventions you go to, has there ever been anything really unusual you've been asked to sign?
Like body parts? I can't say that that's really happened where anyone had me sign their naughty bits or anything like that. Usually, we have security there and stuff, so that kind of, makes everybody behave a little bit. And I would say horror conventions a lot of times nowadays are very TV, we have a lot of little kids walking around and things like that, Nothing too crazy. I mostly just sign pictures, and I sign posters and stuff like that. I was pleasantly surprised that a few people have brought me posters from hunters and had Linnea Quigley and myself sign those.
Well,
so
one
that shows
thing
that people are very excited about that film.
One thing that I find I find funny, I've heard from a few people I've interviewed who have said that I've heard this from Tom Matthews, I've heard this from Caroline Munro, and I've heard this from others as well. Is that people would come up and ask for them to sign a part of their body, and then they'd see them later, and they'd have the signature tattooed on them.
Wow. Well,
Yeah.
that's pretty hardcore. I've seen people do that with Elvira, actually. One of my friends did that with Elvira because she liked Elvira that much.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's pretty intense. I don't know if anyone has my autograph tattooed on them yet, but I think that's a good idea, and I think everyone should probably do that.
I don't know if I could.
I think everybody should. And I know Sid Haig even told me a lot of people have Captain Spaulding tattooed on them because they loved his character so much in A House of a Thousand Corpses. So, it's amazing that us, we as artists, like you put your work out there into the universe and you really have no control out of how it's going to affect people. People take it and, they're excited about it. And that manifests itself in so many different ways. Are you going to buy the movie? You're going to have you or your character tattooed on their body. I've had a bunch of people contact me that they painted or drew pictures of me. Somebody drew a picture of me as Princess Leia wearing her slave outfit when she's dancing for Jabba.
Okay.
I don't know. People do all these, interesting things, and you inspire them as an actor to do that. And that's really flattering and exciting. And I'm thankful that I could be inspiring people in a positive way like that. But definitely, I guess if somebody wanted me to autograph like their arm or their leg or anything like that, that sounds cool.
Now, who outside people you've worked with on the film, who have you encountered at the conventions that just wowed you?
Michael Berryman, I think, is a great guy. He's just such an amazing guy. So nice, so kind, so into health and fitness, so caring. What a loving guy. I really enjoy him quite a bit. It's always wonderful to see him. Kane Hodder is so genuine and friendly and such a nice guy as well. I really like him a lot, too. It's always a pleasure to see Elvira, Cassandra Peterson. I've interviewed her twice already. And for UK Horror Scene, once at Walker Stalker, to talk about her career, and then another time to talk about her new book. It's like a coffee table kind of book, or she calls it a coffin table book. But people like that have really meant a lot to me, and meeting them and speaking to them. Because those are kind of some of the people that influenced me as a child. Being a kid and my mom buying me Elvira, Mistress of the Dark, and watching that with her, really, I think, influenced me as a child,
I've tried to get Elvira on here, and last year when I went on her webpage and sent a message, I got a response from her team saying that she was all booked up for interviews, maybe try next year. So I was like, okay. So I messaged early this year, so I figured, well, I'll hit them early, and maybe they'll find room for me somewhere. And I left the invitation open, and they declined me. Now, I don't want to sound judgmental, and this is certainly not a shot at Elvira herself, but I hope that the people representing her were not just looking at me as some dingy podcast, because considering the people I've had on here, I think I've done quite okay for myself, considering I'm right now just a volunteer. So.
And having Adrienne Barbeau and Dee Wallace and a lot of the people that you mentioned on, all great, credible people, it might just be that Elvira is, or Cassandra is really, really busy, and she is really, really busy. Because when I met her and I interviewed with her, she is about 67 years old now, and she's been doing Elvira now for 37 years. Her schedule is very full. She might even be contemplating retirement in a couple of years from when I interviewed her and things that she would say. she's a little, I think, overwhelmed at times. When I met her at Walker Stalker, I was there for like 3 days, but I interviewed her on Sunday because I knew that would be the only day she would even have time to do like a 15-minute interview with me because she had a long line, the whole weekend.
Mm-hmm.
And then meeting up with her at her book signing, she was really overwhelmed too. Elvira, I would say, is one of the most in-demand people in the horror genre. So I would imagine she just must have like no free time.
Well, again, this didn't come from her. It's just the vibe I got from her representatives. But again,
she probably doesn't have time to even answer her own email. She probably has
Yeah.
someone else do that. So Elvira or Cassandra probably never even saw it. She just she's so overwhelmed. I think I even went through her assistant when I was at the convention, to see if I could get an interview and stuff. And I purposely came back on Sunday. I got her picture when she was dressed up as Elvira on Saturday by my professional photographer that accompanies me to a lot of my press, interviews. And then I came back on Sunday to actually do the interview when she was dressed as Cassandra herself, because I knew she would never be able to do an interview on Saturday, with all the autographs that she's signing, And I wouldn't want to take her away from making that kind of money,
No.
Because, yeah, it's insane how much money, people make at these conventions. You need to focus on that. But yeah, I would just imagine that she just must be so overwhelmed, and her people, maybe are only passing through the biggest things, or maybe just, or maybe they're just kind of cutting back on what she can do at this point. It's I have that challenge myself to a lesser degree. It's just that, like, I just don't feel like I have enough time to do everything. So I have to kind of set certain priorities based on, my schedule and whatever. And sometimes that annoys people, but it's like if you saw my schedule, you would realize that sometimes it's challenged for me to get 7 or 8 hours sleep in a day,
Mm-hmm.
And I would imagine for Elvira it's even more so like that. So I wouldn't take it too personally. I just think it would probably just be that her schedule was just so packed.
Oh, again, it wasn't her,
Yeah. You probably never even got to her, but whoever does her scheduling is probably like, we have no time. We have no time.
Well, the thing is, I'm probably not going to reach out again. That's the thing. That's like there comes a point, and I've done this with other people, where I will not reach out again because it's like it's like I've tried, and once there's a decline, unless they reach out to me, which is a rarity, although it has happened. I usually usually when I'm declined, I don't reach out again. And
well, like I said, I wouldn't take it personally. I just sometimes what happens with a lot of us is just you're too heavily booked, you're too busy, and just you can't do everything, Like I have people messaging me constantly, and some people get annoyed at me because I don't respond. But like I get all these fans that just want to say hi or something like that. But when you have a couple dozen people messaging you every day that just want to say hi, you don't have time to get back to everybody,
Yeah.
I have to like go to work. I have to memorize lines. I have to do interviews. I have to make appearances. I have to read tarot cards for people. It's so hard, And I would imagine Elvira must be like, overwhelmed, perhaps.
Yeah.
She's a pretty big deal,
Yeah.
To this day, God bless her. She's a big deal. I guess she has just like no free time. For anything.
Yeah, I hear you.
Yeah, it's crazy because she does a lot of conventions. If you look at her website, she's involved in a lot of merchandise. She told me she was working on a cartoon coming up soon. She worked on a book recently. I know she was on some, like, October was her busiest month. I think she did Comic Book Men. I know she did some kind of cooking show where she was like a celebrity guest. Did like an amazing amount of things. She makes all these appearances for October, like all around the world. It's like insane. I know my month of October is insane for me. Like Halloween weekend, I know a few people got kind of annoyed with me that I wasn't around or available to them. But it's like I had a film shoot, I had an appearance, and I was tarot card reading at 6 different events. I didn't sleep that weekend,
Steve Joyner told me that you was on the Wise Guys show. How did you like that?
Oh, that was a great show. Yeah, I did the Wise Guys show pretty recently, actually.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was a fun show, and they had some people call in. We had the wonderful guy from Love Boat. He was the African-American bartender.
Okay.
What was his name?
I don't remember.
I can't remember his name off the top of my head, but I have watched Love Boat quite a few times, and he was a very cool dude, and he called in. And we had another guy call in. He was from Back to the Future too. And I also ran him at a convention. We got talking. Turned out we were both in a movie called Witch's Blood.
You talking
Isn't
about
that funny?
Jeffrey Wiseman?
Yes, that's it.
Yeah, I'm supposed to have him on later this year. We're supposed to schedule possibly for June, I think. But at least that's
what a great guy. Yeah, we were
yeah.
talking on the Wise Guys show, and we're like, wait a minute, we were in a movie together. We're in Witch's Blood together. What a small world it is, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, I've been in
Great guy.
contact with him. Yeah. No, God bless Elvira, you know. I'm glad she's doing well. But you
I'm
know,
glad she's doing well
yep.
too. She's a really nice lady, but yeah, I just think she's just a little overwhelmed and things like that. You know, going all over the world, doing all this stuff. You know, it's been going on for like 37 years or something like that now.
Well,
She's got herself involved in so many different things. It's like, I don't know. My life is so busy right now. I can't imagine how busy her life is. It's like she must have assistants like helping her do her makeup and hair because she doesn't have time to do it. It's amazing how busy you become as like as an actor, as a public person. You know, like my manager Matt Chasen. He's a wonderful guy. He manages me. Bill Obish Jr., Lynn Lowry, Melissa Blackthorne, Chanel Ryan, a whole bunch of amazing people. Camden Toy from Buffy the Vampire Slayer. And he's always sending me to parties and events and having me schmooze and do red carpet stuff and, you know, and auditioning and calling people and reaching out. It's like it really eats up all your time.
Well, I'm going to tell you, I can understand because I did my first podcast interview in April of 2015, and that year I did 20 interviews, and last year I did 48. Well, as of tomorrow, I'll have done 62 this year, and we're not even through April.
Oh, wonderful!
I've done as of tomorrow, I've done 29 this month of April alone. And it becomes really overwhelming, especially when I have to tell people, including yourself, that your interview probably won't air for 6 or 8 months, you know, because there's so many in front. And of course, they eventually do air, but I really get the whole scheduling thing, and I've never thought that I was going to be doing this the way I have been. And of course,
I totally understand because I write for UK Horror Scene and I interview people and write articles for that. And it's like I have a backlog of stuff. I only write that once a month, so it's like it could take me a couple months to get around to a person's interview or to an article about something, you know?
Yeah.
Because sometimes things happen. Like Sergio Stivoletti, I had interviewed him when I was in Rome, and then I had said to him, I'm very sorry, Sergio, but, you know, Herschel Gordon Lewis died. I'm going to have run his article this month because we have to do a tribute, you know?
Yep.
You know, and things like that happen all the time where different things shift in priority as to what thing you need to cover at that moment, you know, depending on what's going on in the world and such, you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, and I think everybody kind of understands that, you know, you have to take that into mind. I know Sergio was very understanding because he had met Herschel Gordon Lewis and they had been convention guests together over the years and stuff like that. So you totally understand that, you know. Things like that happen, you know. That was a big loss. We were also upset that Herschel died, you know. 86 years old and we're all like bawling, you know, like we thought he was going to like live forever. But we almost believed he would, you know. He'd been around for so long, you know. But
yeah.
Have you ever seen a Herschel Gordon Lewis movie?
I don't know. What has he done?
Well, he's done The Gorgo Girls, The Wizard of Gore, was it 2000 Maniacs, I think it's called. Blood Feast is my favorite.
I've heard of that
one. My new favorite is Herschel Gordon Lewis's Blood Mania because I'm in it. I like that.
Is it Blood Mania or Bloody Mania?
Blood Mania.
Blood Mania.
Blood Mania. But Blood Feast is a really great movie. I think it's my favorite Herschel Gordon Lewis film. He started making movies in like the 70s, and he just made his last movie like a year or so ago.
Okay.
So very cool dude. And he kind of created the whole splatter gore subgenre of the horror. Herschel Gordon Lewis was an English professor. He wrote books on marketing, and he could have really been successful at anything, but he chose to make B-rated horror films. And his films are classics that play on the Turner Classic Network to this day.
What do you think would the censors attack these movies?
No, I think Herschel's pretty conscious of the censors, and I think he made films that he knew would be on cable TV.
Yeah.
He knew what he was doing when it came to that. Because if you want something to be on cable TV like the Turner Classic Network, you know what? You have to know what buttons to push and what buttons not to push. What line to cross and what line not to cross.
Yeah.
If you make a movie like a horror movie too crazy, it's never going to be on cable TV because it's just going to be like too controversial or what have you. And there's a market for that too, certainly. But that's what you kind of have to think about. I guess you got to think about what is your market, and that is how extreme you want to make your film. Like Herschel Gordon Lewis definitely understood cable TV and making a film that was a little edgy without being too crazy, so it could still be on the Turner Classic Network. And then Adam Albrandt directed me in a movie called Hunters, which it's no holds bar horror. It's insane. A lot of people will not be able to watch that movie until the end. And he wanted to make a movie that made people uncomfortable. That's his art. So, and there's neither one is right or wrong. It's just your own artistic vision, really, and maybe what you want to do. Maybe you have to think about what's your audience. I guess Herschel wanted to reach more people, so he tried to make something that more people would find palatable.
Mm-hmm.
And then Adam Albrandt, with Hunters, is making a film that's very insane, that appeals to a certain segment of the population that finds those kinds of movies invigorating. I guess you just have to ask yourself when you're making your horror film what your audience is. Like I worked on one film directed by a couple films actually, but directed by Jim Simonera.
Okay.
Joe Simonera, 6 Seconds of Death and Acidia. And I also did a web series for him where we did, it was called Tales of the Dark and A Quiet Day for a Stroll. And now Joe is like a very strict Christian. He doesn't put any sexuality, nudity, or swearing in his movies. They get distribution, though. They're out there and they do pretty well. But that's what he likes to do, And I think there's an audience for everything that you want to do. If you want to make something really crazy like Hunters, it has an audience. If you want to make something for the Turner Classic Network like Herschel Gordon Lewis, there's an audience. If you want to make kind of a little bit of a Christian-themed horror film like Joe Simonera, there's an audience for that too,
Sure.
Yeah, without a shot. Horror is just becoming a bigger and bigger genre, and Eli Roth was even talking about that. It's becoming like Comic-Cons. We have horror conventions all over the world, like every weekend. It's, really peaking. The average horror fan right now is female between the age of 18 and 24. We not realize that, but that's the horror genre now. You go to Walker Stalker, there's a lot of young girls there. They love Walking Dead. They love Twilight. They love the Babadook. They love all these amazing films that have been coming out over the years. And we need to create films that are palatable to young girls in that age bracket, with strong female characters like myself that they find empowering and invigorating, too.
Absolutely.
Absolutely, yeah. And we need to have, it shouldn't just be about exploiting, female characters that we saw maybe in the 70s and 80s, but we're moving forward now, and we need to have stronger female characters, interesting female characters, because young women are watching these movies and they want to see characters that they can relate to too.
Yeah. Now all we need to do is get you in a movie with the Howard Stern Whack Pack.
Oh, okay, interesting. Well, yeah, and I don't know how, Well, Eli Roth was just saying that the other day. That's the world of horror right now. Like when I go to a horror convention, there's a lot of little girls walking around. I sign autographs for like little girls and little boys. These conventions are becoming very PG. They're like almost like being at a Comic-Con.
Yeah. Yeah, and I heard that.
horror is becoming like really like something that kids are into. Like they watch Walking Dead, and everybody in so many different age brackets like just loves that TV show. And then they're like, I need to go to horror conventions and learn more about other horror films too. You know,
Yep, absolutely.
it recharges the whole genre. I love Walking Dead. I love everybody that's involved in that. They're all such fantastic people. I enjoyed meeting a lot of them when I went to Walker Stalker. Great people. I met Herschel and everybody when I was there. Great people. It invigorates our base. Our fan base, and we're all pals. So
Just out of,
great.
just out of curiosity, do you remember the horror film that got you interested in horror?
That's a good question. Well, I'm going to say this. When I was a little kid, my father used to make us watch Bud Abbott and Lou Costello movies.
Okay,
And
yeah.
they used to meet the Wolfman, they met the Mummy, they met Dracula. They met a lot of interesting figures. And then from that, my father got me into the Universal Studio Monsters. My father was very into Boris Karloff, Bela Lugosi, and Lon Chaney Jr.
Okay.
So I watched a lot of those movies. And then that kind of segued into me getting into the Roger Corman and Hammer films.
Okay.
So I think the first film I watched that really inspired me to what horror could be when I was a little kid and how artfully done it could be was The Pit and the Pendulum with Vincent Price and Barbara Steele.
Okay.
And I even messaged Bill Oberst Jr. recently that I said my secret fantasy, and it's not a secret anymore because I'm about to say it now, and I even told Bill, is that we would remake that movie and Bill Oberst would be Vincent Price's character and I would be Barbara Steele's character. Because I just think that's an amazing film, Roger Corman, based on the story by Edgar Allan Poe. But it's timeless, and it's beautiful. It's art, and it shows you what horror can be and what it has the potential to be, Amazing. And I love Vincent Price. I'm a huge fan of Vincent Price. I'm like obsessed with Vincent Price, I would say. And when I have downtime, I watch and rewatch Vincent Price movies because, Vincent Price was an amazing actor who did something like 200 films, mainstream films, B-rated horror films, theater. He did it all. He was an amazing guy. But he really found his niche working in the horror genre,
He did.
Oh, he absolutely, and he worked with some of the biggest names in Hollywood, but he got a lot of joy being in these horror films because they really fit him, and the fans loved them in them. I love them in them.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, and it goes to show you, a lot of times people think horror actors are not particularly talented or whatever, it's just such an easy job. But look at Vincent Price. He did a one-man Oscar Wilde play when he was alive, He was an accomplished actor. He worked with, I think, like Bette Davis and people like that, and Dennis Hopper. Like, he was an amazing man. He just chose to do horror because he had a good look for it and he had a good voice for it, and people just loved him doing that. Peter Cushing as well. Barbara Steele worked with Fellini. She was in an Elvis Presley movie, I think, at one point. Ingrid Pitt, I think, had a small part in Dr. Zhivago. A lot of these people are, very well-established actors. I have theater training. I do a comedy, improv, and drama. Just I really enjoy and find my passion in horror, much like Vincent Price did,
Yeah.
It's a fun genre. Vincent Price had a great quote. He said, the challenge of acting in the horror genre is giving a realistic performance in the most unrealistic of circumstances.
Absolutely. Well,
yeah, you don't realize that because, when you're acting in a movie, you're like a regular non-horror film, you can take something from your life, but you probably have never been in a situation where the whole family has just been eaten by zombies, and now we're in a zombie apocalypse. But now you have to act in a movie where that's precisely what's going on, and you want to give people a very real performance where you believe it and they believe it,
Absolutely.
Or you're a vampire in a movie. Or you're a Frankenstein monster in a movie, or any of these things. It's really challenging. Like in Hunters, I'm kind of like this murderous character. You have to be really believable. You have to feel crazy when you're in that movie so people can see how crazy you are when they watch the film,
Yep.
It's like you got to be really, really believable, You got to really feel it. You have to really, live it. The parts that you play have to kind of become almost a part of you, at least for the time that you're playing them,
Yeah, I hear you. Yep.
Yep. And it's really, really challenging because you play like these really crazy roles that you may not have anything in your life to draw upon, you know, to bring in there. So you have to bring it from somewhere, and you have to make it believable for the audience, you know, and that's the challenge of horror. And like I said earlier, with special effects and stuff, sometimes you got to do that, and you only have one take doing it.
Yep, I hear you. Yep.
Yeah, and we do a lot of combat training and things like that to kind of figure out how to like put together the stunt coordination and everything for different scenes. There's a lot of stunts involved in horror, a lot of action that you have to be involved in. It's a lot sometimes, not just your dialogue, but memorizing the action, the scene, and things happening at different times, and blood squirting at this precise moment. It's just like it's pretty intense. Like you're cutting off somebody's head, in a movie. You got to make it look real. It's a very challenging and invigorating genre to be acting in. I really enjoy it. But yeah, The Pit and the Pendulum, I think, definitely was probably my first horror film that really put things on the map for me. And Vincent Price was probably the actor that really touched something in me when I first saw him perform. And what I liked about Vincent Price is he's somebody like myself who had a big body of work over the course of his career,
Mm-hmm. Yep.
He was very open to the kinds of films that he would do. Like, some of them are really silly, and some of them are really good. And he did them all. Christopher Lee too, and I'm all about, like, I'll do a lot of films if I think it's a good script, it's a good film, or if it's a fun movie. A lot of the films I did just did because I thought they were fun movies, and I think people need to watch fun movies. You watch a movie like a James Balsamo or a Bill Zebub movie, and when you're watching it, because you just want to have a fun afternoon watching a movie,
Absolutely, I hear you.
And we have fun making them, to be honest. They're fun movies to act in. They're fun movies to watch. Not everything that I'm in needs to be Shakespeare. I like some of it to be at that level, certainly, because that challenges me, but I like some of it just to be fun, too. And there's certainly an audience for all of it,
Yeah. So you got Blood Mania coming up. Anything coming up after that?
Well, Blood Mania, Herschel Gordon Lewis's Blood Mania. Look for Death House coming out.
Okay.
That should be coming out fairly soon. Hunters is out right now. Death at a Barbecue. Look for me in that. Gosh, what else? Look for Apocalypse Kiss is already out. I have about 25, 30 films with distribution right now. I'm in something called Toxic Tutu I have a cameo in. That's kind of like a mockumentary, The Toxic Avenger, that should be coming out pretty soon. Screening at some conventions currently.
Mm-hmm.
So many movies. I did a short film called Mr. Bones. It'll be going to some film festivals.
Okay.
I have 14 films in production at this moment.
Perfect.
Yeah, so, for all I know, they might all come out at the same time. Who knows? And then I'll have to try to remember all 14 names when I do interviews, and that's going to be hard. Because sometimes that happens. They all sometimes, like, you're waiting and waiting, and then every movie comes out at once because it's a process. A lot of these films, between editing and getting the musicians to do the musical score and all this other stuff, getting a good distributor, lining up all your ducks in a row, takes some time,
Absolutely.
Takes some time to do all that. Like Death House, I think is going to be really a highly anticipated film, and I'm sure that's going to take them a little while to bang that out because they want it to be perfect. It is Gunnar Hansen's last work, and that's what it deserves to be. Same thing with Blood Mania, Herschel Gordon Lewis. That took some time too because you know what? It had to be befitting of Herschel Gordon Lewis's legacy, and now it's his final film. And it has to be befitting of a horror legend's final film.
Did you meet Gunnar Hansen? I never did ask you that.
When I was a little kid, I don't think you would remember me.
Oh, okay.
But I was a little kid, and I was at the Schiller Theater Horror Convention, and I met him, and he had a big fuzzy beard, as I recall. I met a lot of these people, and I'm sure they won't remember me because I was a little kid, and I had gone with my father, and we were at the Schiller Theater Horror Convention, and I know I met Michael Berryman when I was a little kid. I'm sure he doesn't remember me because he meets so many little kids at conventions. And I met Linnea Quigley, I know, when I was a little kid. And I met Elvira when I was a little kid, too, but I know she remembers me. And I know I met Gunnar Hansen at a convention when I was a little kid, too. And you know who, God bless his soul, that I knew as an adult and knew for many years was Robert Zadar, Maniac Cop.
Okay.
I used to see him at conventions so many times over the years. And he was an amazing guy because he always did remember me. Because he always be like, Genoveva. He's like, are you working out? He's like, you look really fit. Your posture is great. He would always remember everything. He was like, he had an amazing memory, Robert, just Sadar. So you would see him from convention to convention. Even if a couple years went by, he would always remember you.
Before you go, I just wonder if you do a plug for my show.
Sure. What do you want me to say?
Just say your name. My name's Greg Gilbert, and my show's called Python's Paradise, Python like the snake. And I'm from New Brunswick, Canada.
Oh, New Brunswick. We have a New Brunswick, New Jersey.
Yeah,
Funny.
I know. I hear all about that. And of course, I'm from. Of course, the show's called Python's Paradise.
Python's Paradise.
Python like the snake.
Hi, this is Genoveva Rossi, and I'm here with Greg Gilbert in New Brunswick, Canada. And